Welcome back, everyone. This is Robert, and I am still very much reorganizing my shop. I'm in the process of breaking down this whole workbench islands thing that I have, and that means I'm going to lose all of the pegboard that is on here, so I needed a new pegboard, which you can see right here in the background. This is a good opportunity for me to finally figure out how to store all of my bar clamps. I've got a bunch of these in various different sizes, and right now they're kind of just everywhere around the shop. I've got some over there, the small ones go over there, the medium length ones kind of go over there, and the longer ones go somewhere else. So I want to get them all into one centralized location, and what better way than 3D printing some sort of modular clamp rack mount thing. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. Let's get started. So let's start by talking about some design goals. So I've got a bunch of these bar clamps, I think F clamps they're also called. These come from Harbor Freight. This is a little 6-inch guy, and this is the 30-inch version. I have 4 different sizes of these, and the heads are pretty much all the same. And if these look familiar, I think Jorgensen also makes a version that looks very similar to this. You can get these at like Home Depot, Lowe's, things like that. I really like the Harbor Freights because they're relatively inexpensive, and I'm not a woodworker. I don't need anything too crazy. I just need to clamp some stuff from time to time. And the thing about clamps is you never have too many clamps. So I kind of want this system to be expandable. So the idea is I want to be able to hold these. I want to be able to kind of expand it and rearrange it. And with all the different sizes, I kind of want to fit them all in together. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for my Peggit system. If anyone's not familiar with my channel or familiar with Peggit, it's basically just a really simple way to attach things to a pegboard. You get these little clips, use automotive rivets to push it into the pegboard, and then your mount or holder just kind of snaps in place, and then you can pull the tabs and release it. So I think for this type of application, it's going to work out well. So let me see what I can come up with for how I'm going to actually arrange these on the pegboard. So I fully realize that holding clamps on the pegboard isn't exactly rocket surgery, but I want to kind of do this a little bit better than how I had been doing it. I was just kind of using one of these little hooks that you get in those pegboard packs, and it works okay. The problem is with the really short ones, it kind of takes up more room than I would like, even if you stack them out, and they never really sit straight. There's really no good way to hold these on there and have them actually straight. The longer ones do a little bit better, but they kind of still hang to the side. The whole thing about a nice pegboard setup is that it's very dense and it's very modular. Everything's kind of in there. Everything's very easy to get to. You can just grab everything, and it's very, very densely packed. And this really doesn't lend itself towards that. So I was kind of thinking about this, and I was thinking how I could 3D print, just kind of 2 prongs coming out. And I started realizing that that's just not really what 3D printing is good for, because you start getting one of these 30-inch long ones, and it's relatively heavy. You stack that out, 6-8 inches, it's going to be a problem getting a 3D printed part that's going to hold that well. So I kind of found that 4 was about the limit that you want to have sticking out from the pegboard. So I discovered that 4 clamps is about the same depth as one like that. So this gives us a few benefits because the weight is as close to the pegboard as possible. You can also access each one individually. You don't have to pull off this whole rack just to get to the back one. So it'll be a little bit easier to access. The weight distribution will be better, and it will just hold them more cleanly. So let me show you what I came up with. So here's what I came up with for a first attempt. This actually isn't the first attempt, but this is the first one that really works well. We've got the Peggit mount in back. We've got 4 holders for the clamps. This is roughly 5 inches wide, so you can stack these side by side, and it takes up about 5 inches for 4 clamps, and it's about 1 millimeter short. So these fit really close to each other when you stack them, and it almost kind of looks like a continuous piece. And the clamps go on there like that. You can have them on the top or on the bottom. Either one works just fine, and they fit pretty close together, which is nice, but there's enough room to grab each individual one. Then there is a bottom rail that just kind of helps stabilize the bottom because on some of these they get really long and the ends get all kind of wobbly. And same thing with the Peggit clip on here. For the top one, I made it a little bit taller, and so the Peggit clip is kind of recessed in there a bit. But I found that a flat blade screwdriver really releases it easy. It's always a lot harder on camera, but no problem just to use a flat blade screwdriver. And these two holes, I'll explain those in a second. I do like how this works, but it is just a little bit more wobbly than I would like. Of course, it's going to be on a pegboard, so I'm not going to be doing this with it. But as this was printing, I had an idea. So let me show you what the idea was. So this is the new version. It looks pretty much the same, but it has a little trick up its sleeve. Those little red pieces are TPU that's screwed down into the main body. And if you look at this from the front, you can see that it comes in just a little bit. Each one of these bar clamps kind of has a little bit of a radius on the inside of the bar. So this kind of clips into place, and it actually holds them really well so they don't come out. And I'll show you what this looks like on the actual pegboard, but it takes a little bit of force to take them out, and it has a nice solid little thunk when you actually press it in there. And these little TPU pieces just screw directly in place, and you can kind of see they have just a little bit of a radius from the front. And this whole design can be used without it. You can just not screw those in. So this can work with clamps that just have a flat bar instead of this little bit of a radius bar. But it's a nice little added touch for the Harbor Freight ones, because it is a really nice, satisfying thunk when it goes in there, and it holds them really tight to the pegboard. So I'm good with this design. I think I'm good to go for making all of them. I have a total of 18 clamps right now, so I'm going to make 5 of these. That'll give me the ability to hold 20. So let's go ahead and start up the printers. So I'm printing all of the final pieces right now. I'm using the Mark IV's to print the TPU. It does a really, really good job with TPU. And then I've got one of my Bamboo X1Cs doing the top piece in ASA, and then the other Bamboo printing the bottom piece in PLA. It's really, really nice to have multiple printers so that you can print all the parts at once. You might be asking why I am not using the XL. Well, I could print everything at once with the XL, but I'm mad at it, so it's sitting in the corner. It doesn't get to play. Even though pegboard is extremely versatile, it's not a precision surface. It's extremely flexible, it's mounted to a wall, and it's not always going to be level or plumb. And in my case, this has a pretty substantial tilt forward. And then we add a nice big clamp onto it. This is the 30-incher, and it's going to lean forward a little bit. But if you remember back earlier in the video, I was talking about those 2 holes in the bottom. These can actually be tapped, and you can insert a 1/4-20 set screw into them, and then you can use that to counteract that lean. So let me show you what I mean. So right now, if I place a level on here, you're seeing at about 0.9 degrees that it's leaning forward. So all we have to do is adjust these set screws, do both of them. And you can easily get that right up to level. Of course, you could do a little bit more because there's going to be more clamps on here, but that is a good way to adjust out any of the issues that you have with your pegboard. Everything went together pretty easy. It was kind of difficult to figure out where I wanted everything to go, and I might end up switching this around later. But, I kind of put the tall ones on the right and then made room for the others. Once again, as I get more clamps, I can always kind of shift this around and relocate everything. But I think I'm okay with how everything is right now. I just went back and shifted the bottom clamps in a little bit just to kind of compress everything a little bit. But yeah, very, very happy with how this whole thing turned out. When I was designing this whole thing, I kind of thought it was a bit of a waste of time, and I almost stopped doing it and then went right back to just using the hooks, but I'm glad I stuck with it. This ended up being really useful and handy. They just fit really nicely in there, and they have a nice click when they go back in there, and they are not falling off. You can brush against them. I really like it. And the top ones are actually a little easier to get to because you can just kind of hook them out like that and then just set them back into place. And this whole thing is really easy to expand and rearrange as I get more clamps. I just need to figure out how to get the rest of my clamps on here, but that is for another video. As always, thanks for watching. I have all of these files and all my other Peggit stuff on Printables and MakerWorld. Check the links down below, and thanks for watching.